Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Good to see you here today. Really excited to have Lawrence from There Be Giants present to you today. So thanks for joining us. It's going to be a great session. So look, if there's a few little housekeeping rules, if as many of you as possible could have your videos on through today's session, it makes it much more engaging for everyone, but particularly the speakers today, to see that there's real faces, not just a whole load of AI bots in the room. That would be so if you could do that for us and keep them on throughout the session, that would be amazing. Also, for whatever reason, the internet drops out for either myself or Lawrence, stick around. I'm sure it will just sort of catch itself up. Hopefully that won't happen. It very rarely does, but if it does, you know what to do. Just stick around, bear with us, and we'll get the tech back up and running. I'm also going to put all your microphones on mute. Nothing personal, just so we can focus on Lawrence, see what he has to say today, and then he's going to open up to a Q&A at the very end. So get your questions in the chat, and we'll come to those at the very end, and I'll go through those, and we'll have a chat with Lawrence at the end. So that's the rules for today. If you could abide by those, that would be amazing. Now, before I hand over to Lawrence, I will just give a very quick introduction to us here at Robot Mascot, and in case you haven't come across us before. So quick intro. Me, I'm James Church. I'm the author of a best-selling book called Investable Entrepreneur, but I'm also the co-founder of a company called Robot Mascot. Now, Robot Mascot is an investment readiness agency. We basically specialize in helping founders and business owners pitch for investment and secure kind of pre-seed, seed, and Series A funding. We've done that and supported more than 3,000 founders to date, worked with founders from all over the world to raise capital. Whether that be in the UK, in Europe, but also the USA, Asia, Africa, Australia, literally all over the world. Now, when clients apply our methodologies that we go through them, they become 40 times more likely to raise funding, raise more than 200 million to date as well. We've won a number of awards for this approach and the success that we've had with our clients. Now, what we really want to see at Robot Mascot, and the reason that we put on sessions like this, is because we want to see great ideas and innovations flourish. That's the core of what we do. That's why we love doing what we love doing. We personally get frustrated at seeing a lot of incredible ideas fail to have the impact and execute on their vision because they're unable to raise the capital they need to get it going. But we bring partners in around us, like There Be Giants, to come and talk to you and help you fulfill that mission of seeing great ideas flourish in other ways. So we're really excited to have Lawrence and There Be Giants here to talk to you about their area of expertise today. So before I do introduce our special guest today, just a quick sort of promo from me. If you are thinking about raising investment, if you are in a position where in the next 6 to 12 months you're thinking I need some capital to stimulate growth in my business or launch my concept into the market, then do check out our free fundraising strategy sessions. We run them every week. They're 90 minutes long with me. We go through a full strategy in a group environment, a load of Q&A at the end, and help you along that journey. I'll share a link to that in the chat very shortly, but you can find it on our website. But do join one of those sessions if you want to delve more into the fundraising side of things. So look, without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Lawrence, who's going to introduce himself, introduce There Be Giants, and give you the amazing talk today on how to secure confidence from investors post-funding, how you can help them believe in you in the long term, not just in the short term. So Lawrence, over to you.
Brilliant. Thanks, James. Nice to be here with you all. I will jump into sharing my screen and then we'll get on with it. Okay, so like I say, I'm Lawrence Walsh, Managing Director of There Be Giants, going to talk to you today about how you can use a framework called OKRs, which is Objectives and Key Results, to help give your investors peace of mind once you've secured investment from them. So talk a little bit about who we are very quickly, then what on earth are OKRs? Some of you may have heard the term before, might be brand new for some of you, so we'll do a little OKR 101 there. Why is it that a framework such as this gives investors peace of mind? And how can There Be Giants help you to implement such a framework? So we are a leading global OKR consultancy. We've been at the forefront of the movement towards objectives and key results becoming the de facto standard methodology for strategy execution worldwide for the past 8 or 9 years now. And we do work internationally. We're based out of the UK, but you know we've worked in pretty much every corner of the globe over the past few years. We built our own methodology, our own IP, and it's that we implement in a bespoke way every time we work with a client to allow them to thrive, whether it's startups, scale-ups, or enterprise-sized businesses. We take a very natural, human, and pragmatic approach to the way we work. And it's this operating model that we implement with organizations that provides confidence, not just to investors, which is what we're talking about today, but also to leadership teams and employees alike, that you have a plan, you know how to execute that plan, and you know what success looks like ultimately. So you've received the financial backing to pursue your vision. What comes next? So the challenge is put in front of you, really. You want to scale without losing focus on what's important. You don't want to lose alignment between the day-to-day work and your strategic priorities, but you have to ensure that you maintain resilience and agility. We still are operating in a turbulent world, a turbulent economy, and things are going to happen. Market shocks are going to happen, and we have to be resilient to those, and we have to be able to remain agile and iterative to deal with them as they come. And so the risk as you grow, whether that's revenue growth or headcount growth, becomes very apparent and happens in almost all organizations. The teams start to become siloed, barriers go up, priorities start to clash, and short-term curveballs can start to throw us off track. So we need to ensure that our teams are collaborating, communicating, working together, ultimately to stay focused on what matters most to you as the business owner, the investors, and the organization as a whole. And that's where a framework like objectives and key results, which I'm going to refer to as OKRs all the way through the deck from this point on, can help organizations crystallize what those goals are, what they want to achieve, and set very measurable targets for how they know they will have achieved them. And ultimately, what that's designed to do is ensure that everyone stays focused on what truly matters. When these curveballs come along, we don't let them throw us off track. We keep our strategic imperatives in mind at all times. So what are OKRs? Ultimately, OKRs are a method that helps us crystallize our priorities and align our teams to those priorities, ensuring that there's a golden thread between the work that's going on a day-to-day basis and what we're trying to achieve in the long term for our organization. And it allows us to take this iterative approach to executing our strategy. So we don't plan every quarter's OKRs at the beginning of the year and, never change our mind and never be agile and never be reactive. We take it quarter by quarter, ensuring that our OKRs are having the impact we want them to have for our business against our kind of strategic priorities. And if they're not, we can adapt. We can test new hypotheses. We can try different things. And that's great. That's okay. So they become this very powerful way of writing down ultimately what our goals are, our objectives, and the impact we desire from achieving those objectives, which become our key results. And culturally, what that allows us to do within our organization is stimulate what we describe as an outcome-focused mindset rather than an output-focused one. And what I mean by that is, what is it as a team or an individual or as a business that we're trying to achieve, rather than what is it that we're trying to do? If I plan out the next 3 months' work, it's very easy to sit here and write down all the things I want to do over the next quarter or over the next 12 months. It becomes a little bit harder when we start to ask ourselves and challenge ourselves on, so what? What's that going to deliver for us? What will the impact be? And actually, that's much more important. If all we're going to do is write down a full to-do list and never think about what's the outcome going to be, then we have no idea if we're making our way towards the vision of the business, towards achieving the strategic ambitions of the business. So we want to start with, what is it we're trying to achieve? What are the outcomes that we want? And driving that culture all the way through the business. If you get everybody thinking in that way, you're going to really achieve bigger things quicker. So, like I say, using the term OKR a lot, let's just break it down one step further before we move on. OKRs are objectives, that's the O, and key results, that's the KR. And our objective, the best way to think about it is, what is the challenge we want to overcome or the opportunity we want to seize, and why? To put it another way, what's the thing, the priority that we want to put in the spotlight for our business and have everybody shining their attention on to make sure we achieve it? over the next 12 months or over the next quarter. And then we have our key results, and people kind of fall into a bit of a trap with key results because they start to use them as a to-do list. They think about all the things they need to do to achieve their objective. And instead, we want to use key results to know if we've been successful. So if I set an objective now, in 3 months' time, what will have changed? What will the impact be? What can I measure to tell us that we've been successful in achieving that objective? So they're very outcome oriented. So an example might look like this. So you might have an objective that reads something like, we've diversified our portfolio with a range of fresh and innovative products that delight our customers. Always has an owner. In this case, it might be the CPO. And you can see here it's qualitative. We don't have any numbers coming in yet. It's almost like a mini mission statement of what we want to achieve. Significant, we want to shine a spotlight on this for a significant portion of time and direct a decent amount of resource to it. Actionable, without being prescriptive in the how. So it says what we want to achieve, but we're not dictating how it must be achieved, because we can empower our teams to innovate and come up with those solutions themselves. And it should be somewhat motivational. We want the team to buy into this objective and want to achieve it and feel like it's a worthy thing for them to spend their time acting on. So then we have our key results. And if we take that objective, like I say, these are our measurements of success. How will we know if we've achieved it? It might be things like this. So we've decreased average time to purchase from 10 minutes to 5 minutes. We've increased revenue from this product from 6% to 15%. We've increased our net promoter score for this product, so we know that the customers love it. So you can see here that these are very quantitative. These are where our measures are coming in, but they're very much measurements of outcome, not output. This isn't a to-do list. It's not make 5 calls to potential clients or onboard 5 partners or hire 3 developers, things that are very to-do listy. It's the outcome of achieving our objective, things that will only change if we're successful in achieving our objective. And that's where lagging metrics come in beautifully, those measurements of impact. Should be unambiguous, so very clear what we're measuring, and we want to be able to report on it. We want to be able to say every week, how far along are we in achieving our objective? If we take that bottom one, for example, net promoter score, where are we now? Are we at 25, 30, 35? And so we can show the progress we're making against the impact we said we would achieve. Never actions or to-do lists, like I say. And we use this framework of verb, metric, baseline, target to set really great key results. Verb, increase. Metric, net promoter score. Baseline, from 23 to a target of 40. To show the ambition as well and the degree of stretch that we want to achieve. So, if it was to go from 23 to 25, wouldn't be very ambitious. 23 to over 40 is a much more ambitious key result. And key results are designed to be used as stretch targets. So why OKRs? So got some stats on here that show the impact that OKRs can have for organizations with the references at the bottom there. But it's found that companies that create superb alignment from the strategy down to the work that's going on a day-to-day basis, grow revenue 58% faster and are 72% more profitable than their unaligned counterparts. 67% of well-formed strategies fail due to poor execution. And make no mistake, OKRs are a strategy execution framework. They're not a performance management framework. They're a strategy execution framework. Strategies fall over all the time because people put the goals in place with no idea of how to achieve them. And OKRs are there to bridge that gap. And again, projects with strong cross-functional collaboration, which a well-implemented OKR framework would have, are likely to have a 76% success rate, which I think we can all agree is an ambitious target and something we'd love to see within our organizations. So how do we boost investor confidence using OKRs then? Well, according to Barclays, and I've linked the piece of content there that we took these from. These are the top areas to focus on to ensure peace of mind for your investors in a turbulent market, okay, and in a turbulent world. So be very clear on your long-term goals. We need to lift our head above the parapets a little bit and ensure we're thinking about the future, not just the here and now. Make sure you have a plan in place to keep you accountable, and that's what OKRs can provide. expect the unexpected. We have to have a plan in place to deal with curveballs as they come along. And we want to view investment as a marathon, not a sprint. So these are the top 4 of 7 areas that Barclays describe are the top 7 steps to provide peace of mind for your investors. So let's break down how OKRs can help with these then. So being clear on your long-term goals. So the way we set OKRs is we take your strategy, and it's usually a 3 to 5 year strategy is what we encourage. And I'm pretty confident that if you've managed to successfully secure investment, you should all at least have a 3 to 5 year strategy in place and outlined. And we set 12-month objectives into those very clearly aligned. So we take that strategy and we say, okay, what is it that we need to do over the next 12 months? What are the top challenges we need to overcome or opportunities we need to seize over the next 12 months to help us achieve those longer term goals? So everything tracks back to that strategy at its core. We're not losing focus on our long-term goals. And the key results are designed to provide very measurable results that focus on the outcome rather than the output, as I described earlier. So we know if we're making the right progress because we can see the impact that we were hoping to have either is happening or isn't happening. If it is, fantastic, we can double down and do more of it. If it isn't, we can iterate, we can be agile, we can try something new or different, all through the OKR framework. So have a plan to keep you accountable then. So by combining a 3 to 5 year strategy, 12-month company level OKRs, and 3-month OKRs that align your teams around the shared vision and strategy, we very much say keep people accountable and keep ourselves accountable, because we're taking the long-term vision, the 12-month kind of midterm, this is what we hope to achieve by the end of the year, and then the 3-month OKRs almost become our organizational sat nav, as it says below. They become the framework we can use to help us get from where we are now to where we want to be. Okay, we use them to help guide us. And as long as we talk about our OKRs very transparently across our business and across our organization, both up to the board and investors, all the way down to your kind of day-to-day floor staff, as it were, then you will enable transparency and ensure accountability. And you will have noticed with the OKR that I shared, every objective and every key result always has an individual owner. So it's very clear who is driving this piece of work, who is responsible for the results we're expecting to generate. And if you get those right, then you have the accountability in place. You are displaying to your investors, this is what I want to achieve over 12 months. This is what I want to achieve 3 to 5 years. And these are the steps that we're putting in place and exactly who is accountable for them to help us achieve those things. It's a very structured plan. So expect the unexpected. So OKRs are allowing you to track and adapt very much in real time to changing priorities. The flip side of that is what's great is it allows you to not overreact when the next shiny thing comes along that you think suddenly you should pivot to. Because you can look at your OKRs in context and you can ask yourselves as a leadership team, okay, if we now chase after that new shiny thing and dedicate resource and budget to it, what will the impact be on our OKRs? What will the impact be on what we decided at the beginning of this year or the beginning of the quarter was our strategic priorities? And is this new shiny thing actually worth the time, or do we need to stay very hyper-focused on what we set out at the beginning of the quarter? So sometimes the answer to that will be yes, no, let's pivot. Sometimes the answer will be no, let's stay the course. But it provides you with the context to make those decisions, most importantly. And as those unexpected decisions come in, we build into our methodology what's the governance going to be around how we deal with those things. And OKRs can allow you to say, okay, yeah, we will take on this unexpected project, but let's put some success measures around it. Let's set an OKR for it so we know if it was worth it. And then next time we can have a more informed decision again, because we'll know if we made the right decision or the wrong decision last time, rather than just going after it and hoping for the best. And then they drive alignment. So if you make the decision to pivot and you're going to go after a new goal, because your OKRs will change, that will then very consistently and coherently be communicated right across your organization that there's been a change to strategy, and therefore everybody needs to realign their work and make sure they're set back into that strategy. I've seen it time and time again in clients before we got involved, where decisions are made at the top to pivot to a new strategy, go in a new strategic direction, and the people actually doing the work, 1, 2, or 3 levels down in the organization, had no idea that things had changed. They were still working to the old strategy. So having this framework where you can expect the unexpected ensures that you'll have very coherent plans in place to adapt as new things come along. And then lastly, view investment as a marathon, not a sprint. So again, by having this 3 to 5 year strategy, 12-month and 3-month OKRs, we're not trying to always kind of chase down the quick wins. We're keeping in mind, what are we trying to achieve in the long term, and are we taking the right steps that are going to have the biggest impact against those long-term ambitions? And we can foster collaboration and cross-functional effort to not only gain the quick wins, work together to make sure that we're not missing golden opportunities, but also to drive long-term efficiencies within the organization as well, so that silos aren't going up. We're not competing for resources. We're not creating friction between teams and team members. So best practices for startups and scale-ups when it comes to our OKRs then, start small. Don't try and take OKRs right across your business, no matter what size it is, straight away. Set yourself some very clear OKRs as a leadership team for 12 months for the business, and set some for the next 3 months that are going to help you deliver those 12-month OKRs. And I would just leave it there for now, for at least the first quarter or 2. And then if you want to go down to team OKRs later, that's great. But don't create a beast for your own back. Keep it small. Limit the focus. You only want 3 to 5 OKRs, each with 3 to 4 key results, so that you're shining a spotlight on the things that matter. We're not trying to create a floodlight that lights up every piece of work that's going on in the business. This is about creating a spotlight on the things that help you execute your strategy. Ensure you review and update them regularly. Talk about them every couple of weeks. Bring the leadership teams together to discuss them, and like you would in a normal sprint style, ensure your commitments behind them. And get the team involved in setting the OKRs. Never set other people's OKRs for them, because you'll completely lose the buy-in. Software tools are great for ease of adoption and tracking progress. At first, Excel sheets, Google Sheets, things like that are absolutely fine. But I would recommend a proper OKR SaaS tool as you get going and as you expand with them. And always focus on your outcomes rather than your to-do lists, to ensure they're measurable and are actually demonstrating the impact of your work, rather than just kind of giving you an endorphin hit each time you tick off a to-do list item. So just share a quick client story with you. So a client of ours called Digital Bridge, they were in a position where they were scaling pretty quickly, and their strategy was getting more convoluted, more diluted as they tried to embed it. And so they needed a framework to set their strategy and effectively communicate it to the rest of the business, so everybody else could align in and ensure their work was following that framework and setting them up to hit those goals. So they needed that structure, they needed that focus. So we went in, we worked with them, we set very ambitious OKRs for the year ahead. And we delivered a series of workshops that helped them create the OKRs, helped them create a framework and a playbook for implementing and embedding the OKRs, and coach them on how and why they should be used to great effect. And very quickly in the organization, they got fantastic alignment through all their team members. They had everyone pulling in the same direction. They got really good at measuring outcomes, which is something they'd never done before. They were always measuring output. And they managed to make that part of the mindset of the organization very quickly. And they really significantly used OKRs for their marketing strategy, their growth marketing strategy. And it allowed them to be very focused, very organized, and deliver against those results to a much higher standard than they ever had before, and with much more accountability than they ever had before. And James, who was COO, commented, about how quickly they galvanized and accelerated their strategy after working with us for a few days, and how it also improved team morale as they came together to execute on these OKRs as well. And he very kindly says that without the support, they wouldn't be where they are now, which is fantastic to hear. And we've got lots of other client stories on our website, by the way. We just pulled this one out because when we worked with them, they were in a position very similar to where I imagine a lot of you are now. So how do we do it? We work with organizations in a similar way to how I just mentioned. We worked with James and his team at Digital Bridge. We like to run on-site facilitated sessions. We can do them over Teams or Zoom or virtual platforms of your choice to get you set up with gold standard OKRs that very explicitly tell your investors, look, this is where we want to go. This is how we're going to measure success. And these are the quarterly OKRs that we put in as a plan to achieve those long-term goals, and give you the framework that ensures you maintain momentum. And then we coach individuals and teams within your business as well to ensure that you're not reliant on us forevermore. You're set up for success internally so that you can build and maintain that momentum within the organization, and prove quarter after quarter, year after year, that it was the right choice to invest in you guys because you're executing against the plans that you've set out and you've demonstrated very clearly. So just remember, start small, bring your OKRs back to your overarching strategy. Don't just kind of try and tie them to the things that you think you're firefighting on now, because firefighting won't last forever. Take that strategy in mind and start to think about, okay, what is it we need to do? What's the challenges we need to overcome or the opportunities we need to seize over the next 12 months that are going to allow us to move the needles and drive us towards our longer term goals. And commit to evolution as well. It's not the easiest framework in the world, but it is the most effective. And you have to have this test, learn, adapt approach as you go through. What worked for us this quarter? What didn't work for us? What can we learn? How would we do things differently? OKRs are all about testing hypotheses and innovating. And so we have to have a commitment to this kind of retrospective and review approach as we take them on board. So hopefully you've got the fuel in your business, which is the investment. Use OKRs as your sat nav to drive you and guide you to your destination. Okay. And I'm sure that if you do that successfully, then you'll have great growth and great success. So a quick whirlwind overview, 25 minutes of what OKRs are. Move on to a Q&A now. James, if you want to come back in, I'll stop sharing my screen. There's my contact details there, by the way, if you want them, but we will share these slides in this recording. Bring you back in, James, to run the Q&A.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Really, really insightful. Let's see what we have in the chat. If you've got any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat for us as well. So Joanna says, I use a now, next, and later roadmap. Shall I tie my OKRs to the now goal and make it actionable?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends how far removed the next and later are. What I would say is when you're setting your 12-month OKRs, you could probably combine the now, next, and later to ask yourself the question, well, if I succeed in those, what will it deliver for me? And set your 12-month OKRs around that. What's the impact of getting those three pieces of the roadmap right? And set really clear key results. This is the success we'll see. This is what we can measure to tell me that those three stages of the roadmap added up to success. And then your quarterly OKRs are probably much more likely to be focused on the now. And then obviously the next becomes the now as you move into the next quarter and you run your retrospectives and reviews to see the progress you've made.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So Alan says, do you have to do anything like sign a document after receiving investment? So is this related to this? It sounds like maybe a question to me. This isn't about OKRs, Alan, is it? This is about signing something with investors after they've given you the money. Is that what you're asking for? Yes. Okay. Well, briefly, because this isn't a fundraising session, but very briefly, yes, there will be some core legal documents that would need to be signed. One, it would start with a heads of terms that would sort of set out the deal and the key considerations around that deal that you and the investors have sort of verbally agreed upon. So it's just putting that verbal agreement down in writing. Then it would go into a legal process of signing a shareholders agreement, creating a shareholders agreement with those heads of terms in it. having you and your shareholders sign that agreement. And there's also going to be an possibly an update to your articles of association. And something else I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but there's like 3 legal documents that would be signed as part of the investment, and you're not the investment is not guaranteed until those documents are signed. So someone can say they commit to you, they can sign a heads of terms, but until that shareholders agreement is signed, there is no legal binding agreement that they are going to invest cash and you are going to deliver them their shares. So it's not until that point you've actually secured investment, which surprises some people because the investors can change their mind at the very last minute and you can do nothing about it. So that's always a consideration. So hopefully that answers your question. Gone a bit off topic there, but we've got a few more come through. So Hallett, if you do have to change an objective, how do you communicate that without negatively impacting the teams that have been sort of focusing on that over time?
Yeah, I mean, all comes down to a comms piece, really, with regards to, but this is why OKRs are kind of nice because you can very clearly say, okay, yeah, this is the change we're making, and this is the reason why, this is the impact we think it will have on our current key results, but we are hoping to see X, Y, and Z, which we see as more impactful and beneficial for the organization. That context is much more motivating and much easier to understand for your employees and your teams than, oh, by the way, we're working on this now. Forget about everything that you've been doing for the past 6 months, which we have, again, seen time and time again before we've gone into clients. We've probably all experienced it, to be honest, working with certain bad leadership and managers through our careers, where you just get told to drop everything and work on the new thing without any real explanation of how or why.
Oh yeah, it sounds like it really helps galvanize everyone around the mission and the vision, right? And ultimately, they're there to make the business a success. And if you can sell that into them that change is going to contribute to success, then I guess
Yeah.
everyone's more easily bought into that. Don't take it so personally, I suppose.
Yeah.
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 So
So
go on, sorry.
no, after you. Sorry, James.
So Daniel was saying OKRs are strategy related, goal KRs and measure impact outcome. Are investors interested in the more tactical level, the tasks you have identified that you think you're going to create, or the impact that
Yeah.
impact, or just a longer term idea?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I probably wouldn't bother sharing the 3 month OKRs with them. However, what investors love is that you have that plan in place. The amount of investors that I've spoken to have said we just love it when we find out that a company we're thinking about investing in is using OKRs because it means they're truly thinking about how they're going to deliver rather than just kind of, finger in the air, we hope we can deliver this. They're also putting in place and this is what we're going to do it. If they know that framework exists, it gives them a lot more confidence. They don't necessarily need to know the ins and outs of it, but just knowing that a structure like that is in place is what provides the confidence.
Yeah, I would agree. So many investors they the way I describe it is they focused on implementation, not ideas, right? And so many founders focus on ideas and not implementation. And what we
Yeah.
anyway, and OKR is a great framework for that of showcasing that you have the detail of the implementation. If I can I trust this individual with my money, right? Can they turn that vision into reality? The OKRs are telling you how you're going to do that, right? This is framing how you're going to deliver those goals, deliver on that vision. So anything that helps you better articulate to an investor that you understand the implementation strategy beyond just the big vision and the where you want to get to in 5 years' time, or that you're going to, solve this big meaningful problem, but the actual step by step how you're going to do it is a game changer, because that's really the difference between you and someone else pitching their idea, is your ability to execute. We can all have great ideas, right? Everyone in the pub on a Friday night is coming up with business ideas all the time that are going to change the world. Someone should create a business that does this. My mum says it all the time. It's like, well, go and do it. Become an entrepreneur. Very few people actually action it. And if they do action it, even fewer action it successfully. And the investors aren't looking for people with great business ideas because they're 10 a penny. They're looking for people who can execute on them and turn them into reality. So yeah, anything that helps you get that across, that you're one of those people, to an investor,
Yeah.
is gold. Is it worth it to share a risk assessment with investors alongside the OKRs?
Yeah, that's probably a better question for you, to be honest, James. But I mean, one of the other 7 steps that I didn't mention from that Barclays article actually that we linked to is, how are you thinking about risk? And what I would say is, if you don't consider risk, you're probably just going to come off as naive, to be honest. Um, Now, I wouldn't want to put the fear of God into them by detailing every risk going. But again, it's about that balance of as risks come along, they can come into your OKRs to mitigate them. It comes into the plan of execution, really, a strategic piece.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. So yeah, I'd agree. Risk analysis again is key because
yeah.
remember, go back to the same response really. Investors are looking for people who can implement, not people who can have great ideas.
Mm.
And understanding the risks, the risks that you can control, the risks that are outside of your control, and then more importantly, how you would mitigate, or what you are doing to mitigate those things are super important. So risks that come with not having enough capital, risks that come with scaling too quickly, risks that come with not scaling quick enough, risks that come with other market entries or changes in legal policy or political changes. All of these things need to be considered in the context of your business, but more importantly, it's how you plan to mitigate those risks. And showing, I think that the good thing of sort of tying that in with something like the OKRs is that so many people just have better do a risk assessment and have it in my business plan for my fundraising round, and then they never see it again, they never look at it again. If it's something more dynamic that sort of forms part of an overall kind of regular review in the way that OKRs might work quarterly, if you kind of tie it into those regular reviews that were suggested around doing quarterly and yearly and those sorts of things, then you're keeping on top of it and you can be more dynamic with the business. So yeah, for me, definitely need to be looking at risk as much as the opportunity. The risk is again probably more important from an investor's perspective than the opportunity, because
Yeah.
yes, to be a big opportunity and it needs to be exciting, but we need to manage risk. You're managing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pounds of my money. Like, I want to know you're managing it properly and you're understanding the risks involved. So yeah, for sure. So the final question, and I think we're probably oh, so Christian, there's just he's one of our active clients. He's just received the valuation report and he's so excited. He's put it in the chat here that he's really happy with it. Christian,
Good for you, Christian.
good stuff. Joanna, so shall we plan OKRs from top down or bottom up, i.e., tie in 3 to 5 year plan and then break them down to 12, or work
Yeah.
quarterly? That's really cool because I've always worked 10-year vision, 5-year vision, annual goal, quarterly goal. Is that the right way, or is it the other way
Yeah,
around?
that is the right way. It has to be a blend. And what we mean by that is go top down from long-term strategy to, where we are now, the here and now. One of the things that I pointed out about the objective statement, like a hallmark of a good objective, is it should be actionable, but without being prescriptive in the how. And the reason we don't be prescriptive in the how, i.e., this is what we want to achieve and this is how we want you to do it, is it allows for bottom up innovation. So we can then take our 12-month OKRs, let's say, to our teams and say, look, this is what we want to achieve over the next 12 months. How can you help us do it? What ideas do you have? Because we don't know everything, right? We want to be employing people that we trust to come up with ideas and execute those ideas. And hopefully they'll think of things that we never dreamed of. So we can take the goal with the clear measures of success to the team and say, right, give us your ideas bottom up for how we can solutionize this problem and solve this problem or execute on this challenge. So it becomes that blend of top down, bottom up. We're setting the direction top down, but we're generating the ideas bottom up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes total sense. And I guess, for founders or co-founders, you are both the top and the bottom of that process when you're a
A lot of
small.
the time, yeah, but not as you scale.
But I guess it's a way of briefing in a great way of not micromanaging any agencies or consultants that you're working with. You're saying this is
Yeah,
this is where we're heading. How do we get there?
yeah.
So, yeah, really good. Awesome, brilliant. So look, thank you ever so much, Lawrence, for being with us today. Really
Welcome.
appreciate it. Thank you everyone who joined us as well. I hope you got a lot of value from today's session. I know I did. So yeah, massive thank you for those of you that are sort of forming part of this community. That over the last year or so, we've been doing these events sort of monthly. There'll be another one very soon. We'll be sending out the details of that shortly. So stick around, keep an eye out in your inboxes for the next few events. And yeah, thank you all very much, and we'll see you all very soon. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, James. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.